Good afternoon.
Hi, YouTube.
I'm doing a movie review, as you could probably tell from the title up there, with this kid, and the movie we're going to attempt to review is Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho.
But it just says Psycho up there.
Who cares?
Good
Now,
one.
Psycho is directed by Alfred Hitchcock, as I just said, and Alfred Hitchcock, he directed films like The Birds, Rear Window,
Northwest.
Yeah, The Man Who Knew Too Much, both the original and the remake of The Man Who Knew Too Much.
Yep.
And, Psycho is also based on a novel by Robert Bloch, and I have read the book, and...
I have not.
Yeah, because you can't read.
Right.
And I'll address some of the differences between the movie and the book later on in this review. So the plot of Psycho is, it's about this young woman named Marion Crane, played by Janet Leigh, who steals a large sum of money from her boss because her and her boyfriend, Sam Loomis, are in some financial troubles. So what happens is she steals the money and runs off with it. Eventually she ends up at this hotel called the Bates Motel, and which is run by this young man named Norman Bates, played by Anthony Perkins. And long story short, she ends up getting killed in the shower. So the plot from then on is her sister and her boyfriend, Sam Loomis, are now trying to figure out what happened
What exactly
to her.
happened, trying to find the money.
Yeah, and they're trying to find the money as well, and that's the plot line, and you really can't say too much else without giving too much away.
Mm-hmm.
But what did you think of this wonderful masterpiece we all call Psycho?
Well, you pretty much just said it all there. I mean, it's a classic, and not just any old classic. It's a genre-defining film.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of horror movies that came after it were
definitely inspired by this, like especially Halloween, because well, for one, in Halloween,
Scream. Scream's another one.
No, but for one, in Halloween, you had the character of Sam Loomis, who's named after a character in this movie, and also there's a lot of things in this movie which were definitely kind of groundbreaking for their time, like. For one, the shower scene, movies at this time, at least American movies, really weren't allowed to show nudity at this time. And also, interestingly enough, this is one of the first times, I think the first time you ever saw a toilet seat in a movie.
Really?
Yeah.
Lucky toilet seat.
Yeah, and
I guess.
And also in the beginning of this movie, you see a woman in her bra, which at that time, I know now it doesn't seem like much.
It's not that big of a deal, but back then it was definitely frowned upon. I mean, even the tub death scene. Apparently, if you watch the movie Hitchcock, played by where Hitch is played by Anthony Hopkins, there's a scene where they actually show him discussing with the censors about that scene. And, of course, the movie's based on true events and how he kind of made Psycho a little bit. And, like, that scene alone, and it wasn't really that... Yeah. We wouldn't really consider it,
but
risque.
Back then
it was very risque for that time. Yeah.
Now, my opinion on Psycho, I definitely think it's a classic. However, I do feel like the film does kind of move at a slow pace. It's just... Well... I mean, that's not bad, but it's just...
Well, to be fair, though, too, I actually think it's a positive that it's slow pacing, because it kind of builds that atmosphere and it makes the scenes more give these scenes more of emotional impact, I think, because of it being kind of dragged out a bit. Yeah. Instead of just fucking jump scenes, jump scares every 10 seconds.
Now, I mentioned how I read the book that this movie is based on. The movie's pretty true to the book, however, the book was actually more violent than the movie, because in the scene where Marion Crane gets killed in the book, she actually gets her head cut off.
Oh, really?
Obviously, back then, even though this movie already got away with a lot back then, I don't think Alfred Hitchcock would have been able to get away with a decapitation scene. At least not in
Chainsaw Massacre style.
Yeah, at least not in 1960. But and also in the book, the character of Norman Bates, he was much older in the book. Like, he was in his 40s, I believe. In the movie, that character
more like 20s.
Yeah, he's more in his 20s. Yeah. But for the most part, the movie is a pretty faithful adaptation to the book. Now, Psycho would go on to spawn a couple of sequels and a remake, and I don't want to talk about the remake, but there was also, recently there's been a TV show called Bates Motel, which is, I'm not sure if it's like a reboot or a prequel.
I'm not sure either, but I've heard some good stuff
I've heard some mixed things about it. Seems like some people like it and some people don't, but
I gotta check it out.
Yeah. But yeah, if you haven't seen Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho...
It's a classic. You're not gonna go wrong. Definitely go see it.
Yeah, see it.